Hi friends, my name is Sangram. Let us discuss about storage account, which is a service within Azure. So storage account is used to store data at exabyte scale. It is very reliable and you can secure the data. And it is very much compatible with analytical services like Databricks. And you can have disaster recovery and high available solutions as well. And there are four types of storage account within. So it is blobs to container storage, file share, queue, and table storage. Blob container storage will be used to store data like your CSV files, text files, image files, video files, ORC files, Parquet files, and etc. And file share storage is like storing virtual hard drive, like you have physical hard drive with you. Similarly, we have a concept called as virtual hard drive, where you can save some files and later share it with a person, and they would attach their virtual hard drive with their computer. And there is a third storage type called as queue, which acts as a messaging application where you can queue in the messages and then dequeue the messages. And the fourth storage type is table storage, where it acts as a NoSQL layer for you. You can store all kind of unstructured data in table storage. Now let's move on to the portal. This is the portal. Let's create a new storage account. Type in storage in this search box and click on add. So we see that there is a subscription already selected, and then we have a resource group to select. So we selected demo RG as the resource group. If you don't have a resource group, just click on create new and you can create a new resource group. After that, we need to specify our storage account name. Let me provide demo bits. And this name should be unique in the world. If it is not unique, we'll get an error symbol over here. And then choose a location. I'm choosing a East US data center location, which is fine for me. And then performance. What is performance? If I choose standard as the performance, it will be backed by magnetic drives, and it is not performant while it is low in cost, but it is not so performant. And if I select premium, it will be backed by solid state drive. At the same time, it is very much performant and it gives you low latency performance. Let me scroll down. Let's talk about replication. So in a particular data center, you will have several zones. Every zone will have a rack. To give you an analogy, let's consider a big campus. In a big campus, you have several buildings, and every building has floors. So corresponding to campus, just think that it is a data center. Corresponding to a building, just think it is a zone, and every floor is a rack for me inside a zone. Now we have several replication kinds. So let's talk about locally redundant storage. So in LRS model, when you try to copy a file, the first copy is put into a particular rack in a zone of our data center, which we have selected in our location. Now two more copies are also made and put into different racks of the same zone. That is LRS for you. And then what is ZRS, which is zone redundant storage? So the file that I'm uploading into the storage account, the copy will be made to a particular zone in our data center, plus two more copies will be copied to two different zones. And what is geo-redundant storage? When I'm copying a file into the storage account, the file will be copied to a particular zone in this geography, which is the data center. Two more copies will be made to nearby data centers. So as I've selected here the East US location, right? So the alternate centers might be East US2 as well as West US2. So that is GRS for you. And there is a fourth one, which is called as read access geo-redundant storage. It means all the fundamentals which I spoke about geo-redundant storage is applicable, plus you would be able to read data from all the particular data centers. That is read access. In geo-redundant storage, while you were replicating the data into other data center, but the read was always happening in the primary data center. But in read access geo-redundant storage, the read is possible from all the data centers where the file was copied. And then geo-zone redundant storage is a combination of geo and zone redundant storage. So while the file is copied into three different zones of a data center, the same copies are also made to two parallel other data centers as well. That is geo-zone redundant storage. And then advanced to it, it is read access geo-zone redundant storage, which is all the features which you got in geo-zone, plus the files will be read from all the zones of all those three data centers. That is RAGZRS. And from use case perspective, if it is a lower environment like dev or testing, you can always choose LRS, but for higher environment, try to choose GRS or more. That is purely a true disaster recovery solution. Anything from GRS is a true disaster recovery solution. Okay, now let's go to networking. So if you don't want to keep it under a virtual network, try choosing public endpoint, which is nothing but public endpoint all network. If you want to put the storage account in a virtual network, you need to select public endpoint with selected network. For now, I'm good with creating a storage account without keeping it in a virtual network. And let me click on next, which is data protection tab. So here you see there is an option called as turn on point in time restore for containers. So if I select this, it says that I can restore my data point within 6 days of time. If my file is corrupted or for a particular reason, I can go back in time and then restore the version of that particular file. And then there is an option called as turn on soft delete for blobs. So if I keep it to 7 days, right, it means when I'm deleting a file, I'm just marking it as soft delete, and only after 7 days of time it will be permanently deleted from the system. So for the next 7 days, if I'm marking a file as a soft delete, within 7 days of time I would be able to restore it back. That is turn on soft delete for blobs option. And then the same thing goes for file share. And then there is an option for tracking, turn on versioning for blobs. So in SharePoint, when you upload a file, you would be able to track the versioning. Similarly here, if you upload a particular blob is nothing but any file that you upload in your storage account, right? That is nothing but a blob. The versioning will be enabled if you select this on. So I'll just uncheck this for now. And then I'll go to advanced. So in advanced, you see the first option is secure transfer required, which is nothing but when the data is in motion, you want things to be very much secured and data over wire should be encrypted. So to do that, you need to select enable, plus you can select that minimum TLS version. So I generally select to version 1.2, which is the latest TLS version. Scroll down and you will see there is an option called as allow blob public access. So I will just keep it as enabled for me to later change the access level of a particular container or a blob. And then there is an option called as blob access tier, which is hot versus cool. So if you are often using a particular file, right, or a set of files, then I would put the blob access tier as hot. So when you put it as hot, the access cost is lower. Because you are accessing the file often, you would want the access cost to be lesser. So in such a case, just try selecting hot as the access tier. And when to choose cool? When you are hardly using that file, or let's say that the file is of 2010 or 2005, right, where you hardly access the data. So you want the storage cost to be cheaper because you are not accessing the file often, right? So you would want the storage cost to be cheaper. So at that time, I would choose cool as the tier. But as this is just the default value, I would select hot for the timing. And later, when I really upload the file, I can change the access tier. And then scroll down, there is an option called as Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So for this is a pure storage account, hence it is marked as disabled. If I want to make it as a ADLS Gen 2, then I need to mark it as enabled. To mark it as enabled, I need to do some few settings in data protection tab. I need to go to data protection, uncheck few things, and then I come back to advanced and I see this option as enabled, right? So if it is a regular storage account, you can keep it as disabled. And if you want to convert this account into ADLS Gen 2 account, you can mark it as enabled. For now, I'm just bothered about the storage account. So I would keep this as disabled. Now go to tags. So tags is just a way of identifying your resource type. Let's say you want to this storage account is mostly used by your payments team. So I would just type in as team name and payments. Similarly, you will have a lot of resources, right? You can tag it to a particular team name, and later on when the billing occurs, right, at a subscription level, you would be able to classify your billing with respect to a team. So that's the advantage of this tag. And then click on review plus create, and it would do a final validation of whatever properties you have filled in, and then click on create. And then come to this notification tab, and we can wait for the deployment to complete. Let's speed it up. Let us go to the resource. So once the storage account is created, you would see many other properties. In overview section, you can see an option called as Open in Explorer. So you can download by clicking on this link, and Azure Storage Explorer will be downloaded for you. So Azure Storage Explorer is a client tool to manage this particular storage account. And then coming to activity log. So whatever configuration changes you have made to this storage account, everything will be listed out over here. So you can come at a later point of time and analyze for any logs. And in tags, we have already discussed this during the account creation, but nevertheless, if you want to add additional tags, you can do so coming here. Diagnose and solve problems. So any common problems that you would encounter in a day-to-day scenario, you can always come here in diagnose and solve problems, and you can watch out for some common problem statement, and you will get a simple resolution on the same. Under access control, this talks about the security model. In this model, we would be able to provide access on this storage account to a user, group, or a service principal. So how would we do that? Go to role assignment and click on add role assignment. And then you need to select a particular role before choosing a person or a group or a service principal. So there are a lot of such roles which is present in the system. So I would talk about the 4 major roles. The first one being owner role. So if I assign a person ownership on the storage account by providing owner as the role, it means that person would be able to access everything in the storage account, including that person would be able to provide access as well as revoke access from someone. So if I provide contributor role, it means everything that an owner can do except provisioning access. Third property is reader role, which means that person, group, or service principal would be able to read all the properties of this particular storage account. And let me talk about the fourth one. That is storage blob data reader. If I assign user, group, or service principal the role of storage blob data reader, they would be able to read the data as well, which is present in container or file share or queue or table. Okay. And next, let me go ahead and assign a particular user a contributor permission. So I'll select contributor, and then there is a user called as Loki in this directory. Let me select Loki and then click on save. And you can see in the notification tab that the role is been added already to Loki. Now let us talk about the Storage Explorer. So in Storage Explorer, you would see 4 storage types: blob container, file share, queue, and tables. So as I had mentioned earlier, blob container is used to save files like CSV, Parquet, ORC, image files, video files, etc. So let us go ahead and create a container. Let me name as demo container. And then you would see public access label. So if I select private, no anonymous access, it means by default, I'm not providing anyone access to my demo container. And there are 2 other options called as container and blob anonymous. So by default, the property is like if anyone has a endpoint to a blob or a container, they would be able to access the blob or container. So I don't want anyone to access by default, so I have provided private with no anonymous access. And let's go ahead and create. So it is created, you can see it here. And then let me try to upload a particular file. So click on upload, select a file, and then I would upload. And in the notification tab, you can see it is in progress. Let's speed it up. And it is uploaded. Now let us talk about file share. So file share will help you to save virtual hard drives. So let us create a file share. Create file share. Let me name it to share 1. And I want to set up the quota of 1 GB. Let it be transaction optimized. Create. And my file share is created. Let me refresh this. And then I would see share 1, which I created just now. And let me upload a file. There is a file called as license. Click on upload. Upload is complete. And once it is uploaded, you can select more and go to connect VM. And then based on your operating system, you can scroll down and you can just send this piece of code to anyone and they would be able to attach this to their computer. And that would act as a drive. Okay, then coming to queue. Let us go ahead and create a queue. I would name this as Q1, click on OK, and then a queue is created. So as I had mentioned earlier, queue will help you to queue in some messages as well as dequeue the messages later point of time. So let us select Q1, then I would try to add a message saying hello, and it expires in 7 days of time if it is not dequeued. Click on OK, and let me add another message, how are you, and again click on OK. And then let's start to dequeue the messages. So if I dequeue, it says, are you sure you want to dequeue the first message in the queue? Yes. So the first message is dequeued. Again, click on dequeue and the second message would be dequeued. So this will help you in building any messaging application. Now let's talk about table, which is nothing but which will help you to store NoSQL data. Right click, create a table, and let's say table 1. Okay. Okay, table 1 is created successfully. Now let's try to add some record. So you can see partition key and row key by default. So this is a combination. This key should be unique in nature. So let me select partition key as 1 and row key as 1, and then click on insert. And you would see this has been entered as a record. And let's add one more record, 1, 2 this time, and let's try to add a new property called as name. Let me provide my name and click on insert. And you would see it is purely a NoSQL data. So it doesn't depend on just partition key and row key. You can keep on adding few other properties as well, like name. And let's try to add one more. But this time I don't want to add name. So click on delete and then click on insert. So it is flexible, very much flexible enough, and helps you to save unstructured data. And that's pretty much it from the Storage Explorer perspective. Now let us talk about the access key. So we have key 1 and key 2 as endpoints. So if any application wants to talk to the storage account, then they can use either key 1 or key 2 to access the storage account. For internal applications, it is okay to use key 1 or key 2. But if you are following publisher subscriber mechanism, then it is not a good practice to expose this key. And then going to configuration, you would be able to see a few properties here. And while creating the storage account, you saw such properties like performance, secure transfer required. So few properties you would not be able to change, but few other properties which are enabled, you would be able to change those. Okay, let's go to encryption. So by default, Microsoft ensures that your data at rest is always encrypted using Microsoft managed keys. But if you want to apply your own key, which is nothing but customer managed key, you can very much do so. And you would be able to select your key URI, place the key URI, and click on save over here. And then your data starts encrypting at rest with your key. And there is a concept called as key vault. We would be discussing about it at a later point of time. Now let's talk about SAS token or shared access signature. So using this concept, I would be able to provide a fine grained access to a person. So let me select blob. I just want to provide a person access to our blob. And here you can see I can control the behavior. So I just want to provide read and list permission to that particular user. And I can do so by selecting this read and list permission here. Scroll down. And I can also control the time frame during which that person would be able to access our account. And scroll down. And then there is a signing key called as key 1 or key 2. So I'm going to generate a SAS token using either key 1 or key 2, which we saw under access key. So let me select key 1 and generate a SAS token. Scroll down and you can see this particular connection string SAS token and blob service SAS URL. So if I now provide this particular URL to a particular subscriber, that person would be able to access our account, but only in read and list manner, and that too just for a day. So this is about the shared access signature at the storage account level. I would like to talk about SAS token at a particular container or a blob level. So let me go back to Storage Explorer. Let's select blob container. And if I want to provide just a container access to someone, I would be able to generate SAS token over here. And then the same thing, I can set up the start time, end time, and provide the required amount of permission like read and list. If you want to provide write, you can do so. And click on create. and a URI is generated. So now if I share this particular URL with a subscriber, that person would be only able to see this container and not the other containers. Now let us talk about another important property called as locks. So there are two kind of locks, read only and delete. So if I set read only lock to this particular storage account, it means this storage account is a read only storage account and no one would be able to write or modify any configuration of this particular storage account. So there are certain use cases where you would want this storage account to be just read only for some duration. You can make use of this property. And there is another property called as delete property. So delete lock type makes sure that this storage account would not be deleted by anyone or any group or any service principal. And what is the use case of delete? There are some CI/CD pipelines which will deploy to our storage account in an incremental manner or full manner. So if you want to restrict full deployment in the sense it would delete the resource before recreating that again. If you don't want that to happen, then you can select the lock type as delete. Let me name as do not delete. And the storage account would never be able to get deleted by itself. So this is the lock types. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe my channel, and happy learning.